Hey, so what I'm about to show you is extremely special to me, and I'm going to tell you while I show you, but also before we start, I just want to say for all of you who are new here, my name's Becca, I was born and raised in Minnesota, specifically Minneapolis, but Lake Superior is a place that I've been coming to my entire life because my parents fell in love with it, like when they fell in love with each other, so like, this is our place. And this particular location in Lake Superior, I know extremely well, so let's talk about it. So, I've always taken the story of Lake Superior at face value, even as I was like, meh, okay? So I saw someone on here say, it's a hypothetical, right? That the Great Lakes were actually ancient quarries for a long forgotten civilization, and that they were quarried, and that's how we built all of our stone buildings. And I was like, well, that really totally tracks with what I've viewed Lake Superior before, because I never understood why we would have flat rocks and then like boulders on the side where clearly they were mined out. And I was going on a walk yesterday where I know specifically because they built the new Highway 61 when I was in college. So I went to UMD. So I knew and I watched them blast that out, and I would see the blast patterns, and I was like, gosh, that looks exactly like Palisade Head, Shovel Point. Okay, so Palisade Head and Shovel Point, I'll put pictures. If you don't know what they are, it's just like a drop directly into the water, which again looks like a quarry. And of course, if you don't know this, Cliffs Mine is just up the way. This is the Silver Bay Mariners, but there's also the miners of the town. So, okay, let's look at possible evidence of a quarry. I studied geology a little bit at UMD. So right away, we've got this, and it's perfectly straight. So the logic has always been, oh, that's just the way it cracked through time. Okay, to me, there's zero question that this was lava flowed rock, but I'm not sure that I buy that. Then again, up along the way is where you get all the boulders, okay? Boulders. But as ChatGPT would say, here's where it gets really interesting. So I like to swim in Lake Superior. Not often, but enough. I like to swim in it. So hexagonal patterns are natural, I found in Iceland. But Lake Superior is supposedly the same rock. Lake Superior is not that way. So let's look at some of the bigger boulders as we walk in. So we've got like that, right? Square cut corner. This is another one I really love. You see how square it is, right? Like another perfect straight fault line. But so what's incredible about Lake Superior is the water's so clear you can see all the way down in the lake. And I have gone swimming and kayaking many times. And I'm going to show you now because it's kind of calm, although it's cold for my feet, so be kind. I don't know if you can see it. I hope you can. I'll get out as far as I can. First of all, there's this. Do you see that? It's a perfect right angle. Shoot, I don't think you can see what I can see. I'm going to try. And my feet are already numb. Shoot, you can't. Maybe you can see in the shadow. There is a perfect straight line and a perfect right angle out there, and then an exact cube right there. And there's another, maybe you can see this. So I've always asked, as a young scientist, geologist, oh my gosh, I can't feel my toes. I can't feel below my knees. I would always ask, okay, if there's a tendency, I know this from mathematics, if there's a tendency toward chaos, and then I was in Iceland and I saw that they were perfect hexagons, which is supposedly with the exact same volcanic rock, okay? Then why is Lake Superior perfect right angles and they're perfect, semi-perfect prisms, okay? And when I saw this one creator with that hypothesis, I actually just started crying because it made total sense to me. And as a little kid, I used to say this and people would laugh at me. I'm gonna show you one more thing that has never had an explanation. First of all, more perfect right angles. You guys, I'm just showing you what exists here, okay? You can call me crazy all you want. And again, I've been coming to these particular rocks for 35 years. Okay, what I'm about to show you has no explanation. I know the actual property owners back until this was owned by the state, until the 1920s. And then prior to that, I believe it was owned by the state, okay? So we're going way back, all right? And I talked to my father and I said, Dad, where do these come from? He's like, oh, that's just for a boat. I said, no, it's not. I go, what boat? What boat? There was never a boat launch here. This particular property used to be a lodge. there was a boat launcher on the corner, right? There's a boathouse. It was all decrepit. But what is this? What is this? These are blast holes, bore holes for dynamite. I can stick my finger, I can hit the bottom there, and I can hit the bottom there. They've been here unchanged for 35 years, at least, because that's when I started coming up here, okay? To this exact location. The exact, okay? And I can show you at different places along here that I also equally know the exact location. So, right? So those are just questions, because my name is Becca and I'm searching for truth. My dad told me, he just passed away, so on Christmas Day, he always said to me, Becca, any honest pursuit of truth leads to God. So beware of the stories, follow the evidence, even the rocks and the hills cry out. You can think I'm crazy, but I am showing you. Oh, there's another perfect right angle. So here's how the rock wants to break. How do I know this? Because I've been dealing with shale pieces. Again, this is how the rock naturally wants to break. Then look at this. Perfect right angle. As a mathematician who has studied the golden ratio, the golden circle, the Fibonacci sequence ad nauseum, naturally occurring things are hexagons or spirals. Perfect 90-degree angles are human being made, okay? And again, I know who was the owner of these exact rocks for over 100 years. So this is not like, oh, the state came in and mined something temporarily and you don't know. Nope. And let's look at some more boulders. We used to call this the piano rock. But again, look at that. Perfect 90 degrees. Okay? Look at all those square corners. This is so many tons, it couldn't possibly be moved. Now, this one is big enough in certain storms to actually roll, but look at the old perfect scorner. Do you see it? Because some of these, when they roll in the storms, because there have been some massive, the same kind of storm that was able to sink the Edmund Fitzgerald, right? They can roll, okay? So they have tumbled sometimes, some of these rocks, because they're so massive. But you can still see the old corners. If they rolled and rolled and rolled naturally, they would be smooth. Okay, look at this. Look at that. It's completely uniform. And then right angles. Look at this one. Okay. That is an equilateral triangle to a point. Here's another one. And again, I know for a fact these rocks have been sitting unmoved except for by storms for 100 years. No one's touched these. You can't. They're massive. And getting to the location where I am is even challenging for human beings to walk down here. Like, there's just a lot of boulders and stuff, right? A vehicle with it hasn't happened. Another one. Look at that. Look at this is, look at how flat that is. You can't see it, but I can. I'm trying to help you see it. So, I studied geology for a full year at school as I was studying engineering. So again, you don't have to believe me, but do you believe your own eyes? I'm not even asking you to believe me. I'm just showing you something and hypothesizing. But when what we're told doesn't work out, like grand unified field theory, where it doesn't, our general science doesn't work. You see? Oh man, I can see the Apostle Islands from here. The general science doesn't work because grand unified field theory doesn't work. And we had to invent things to make our science fixed, like the calculus and Riemannian geometry. So if it all works, now I'm going back to the ancients. I'm a Pythagorean, okay? All is number. The story doesn't fit. So if the story doesn't fit the evidence, then maybe the story is the lie. You see what I'm saying? There's another one. I'm staring at one. Again, it's like perfect. Do you see that? Even the rocks and the hills cry out, you guys. Even the rocks and the hills cry out. See you out there.